Does seeing a picture of a house go from this to this make you want to claw your eyes out? 'Cause same. That's why today I wanted to talk about doing the opposite of that. You know, a lot of us are renters and we have the landlord special, the millennial gray box, and we have to somehow turn it into something magical and whimsical and somehow make it feel like a cozy home instead of feeling cold and sterile and like you should be wearing a straitjacket. So these are just some like whimsical home decor interior design things that I personally love and either want to implement into my home space or I have brought into my home space. I think for the most part, most of my ideas can be implemented within a range of budgets, a range of apartment or home design styles. But without further ado, I think we should jump right into the ideas. These are in no particular order, but number one is tapestries. Yeah. You could say I'm a fan. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about the Urban Outfitters, just like very thin material, printed tapestry design. Although, if that's your style, hey, I'm not here to judge. However, just consider like a woven tapestry style. And here's the thing, I think there's a misconception that these things are really expensive. I got this at Savers, which is a thrift store, $10. It's just a piece of material. I sewed a loop at the top and I got a curtain rod and I hung it up and now it's a tapestry. I know when you look online, sometimes they can be really pricey, especially if there's like a whole design on it. I have one other tapestry that I also found at an antique shop years and years ago. It was, I think, $60. Still very affordable, but it's more of a like art piece, I guess you could say. I love tapestries because they make me feel like I'm living in yesteryear. Ye olden times, okay? I want to feel like I'm walking through the halls of a castle, even if that castle is just a small apartment. I think it's also a nice way to mix up different things that you put on your wall. Like you can paint your walls, you can hang up pictures, or you can hang up material. I think it makes the space a lot more warm and cozy, and they're renter friendly. Well, speaking of materials, this is a nice segue into my next thing, which is mixed materials in your space. I've lived in this apartment coming up on 4 years, and we slowly started collecting some furniture to bring into the space, and I was really going for like darker woods, which is like more of my preference, kind of like my desk. But then I started noticing that there's a lot of wood in here. Like, we're really overcrowding the space with a lot of wood furniture, and it was feeling a little samey. So I was looking on Pinterest, as I do, and I was trying to really study the different interior design pictures that I liked and try and dissect, like, why do I like this space? And a lot of times it was because they had different mixed materials. I also think bringing in a little bit of mid-century modern or more modern styles into my design choices was like an important mix-up for me to do, because otherwise I was trying to bridge too big of a gap between my modern apartment and my desire to live in a castle. You kind of need to have some style in between that to make it cohesive, I guess you could say. Otherwise, it almost looks like a costume for your home when you're filling up a modern space with too many like antiques. Does that make sense? So I've gotten a lot better at that. I've learned a lot more about what I think my style is given the space that I live in. And I think from there, I actually learned that I do like some more modern looking touches in a home. I think it really helps balance it out and makes it a bit more personal, I think. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. Mixed materials, I think, is such a good thing to keep in mind when designing a space. So if you have a couple pieces of like wooden furniture and you're like, all right, this space needs something else, what should I do? Maybe don't look towards other wooden furniture pieces. Maybe look at some chrome or brass or glass. Next on my list is intentional clutter. And this is a very specific reference, I think. I was really thinking about Florence Welch's little writing desk in her home. There is a video that I've watched a gajillion times at this point of a tour of Florence Welch's house. It's absolutely stunning. It's my dream home. She did such an amazing job. But she has this desk and it's just filled with like papers and booklets and poems and like drawings and all this stuff. And it's very cluttered and messy, but it's like that's her space to be messy and creative. It's intentional. I just think it's so important, especially for creatives and hobby-prone people, to have a specific space where you can like have your clutter, have your mess, be creative. I talked about this in a recent video, but I think stacks of books is also a really chic cluttery mess type of thing. Another thing I just thought of is having a bunch of framed or like canvas art leaning against a wall. So you're like, oh yeah, I collected all this art and like hang it up at some point. Who has the time? But in the meantime, like it looks really chic just having all this art leaning against your wall. That's what I mean by intentional clutter. Or something I've been on the hunt for is some silver trays. I really want to get a few of these because I got a lot of little knickknacks and things that I just like put on the coffee table, put on my vanity, and it looks more like a mess instead of cute clutter. And I think if you just have a tray to put the stuff on, suddenly it looks chic. Next on my list is having your own art hanging in your home. This could be a photograph you took, something you drew, something you painted. I think in one of my videos a while back, I showed myself replacing this old printed Van Gogh art and making my own painting. It was a trust the process situation, but we got there. I made this painting of like flowers in a vase, and I love it. I think it's so much cuter than having just like printed art. And trust me, I have a lot of printed art in my home, but I'm trying to slowly replace some of it with my own art from friends, photographs. I have a film camera. I desperately need to like get the next roll finished and print it off. That's something I'm really lacking in my home, is more photos of my friends and people in my life, and even just like places I've been, things I've done and experienced. So the next thing on my list is a little more of an architecture thing. So it might not be accessible to everyone. I don't think it's accessible to me. It would be like a project if I did this. And I've seen it done in more budget-friendly ways, apartment-friendly ways, but that is wood beams. I love a dark wood beam on the ceiling. Again, just very like medievally Tudor inspired architecture. One of my favorite creators here on YouTube is Rachel Maxey. She does a lot of cosplay stuff, but she also does a lot of like home design things, and she's made wooden beams and she uses just like a foam material and makes it look like wood. So that's definitely a more budget friendly, even like renter friendly type of way to make wood beams for your home. Obviously, if you own a house, I think it's worth saving up and using actual wood, making it something that's a bit more permanent. I've been really into weird little candle holders, and honestly, I need to grow my collection. I have a candelabra, love her, brass, antique, and then recently I bought this like ceramic painted dish, and I've been putting a little candle on top of that, but I would love to get some more. I really want some more weird little chrome candle holders. I feel like I'm also definitely the person to burn a candle that's scented for the scent, as opposed to like burning a bunch of little candles for the vibe. You know what I mean? Like usually when I'm burning a candle, it's not on my candelabra because they drip down and make a mess. Like I'll usually have a candle burning, but it's typically just like one of those candles from Trader Joe's because they have a lot of good scents, honestly. But that's not very cute, you know? What I should look for is actually some kind of candle holder that fits one of those Trader Joe's candles so I could just stick those in there. Next on my list is canopy beds. What happened to those? Why don't we as adults have canopy beds? And I am thinking of like a specific type. I love the full 4-poster canopy bed, but I'm kind of more so thinking about the one, I'll show you guys a picture. How do you explain this? Where it's just like a headboard type of canopy. I think that is so whimsical and charming. And you know, if my bed wasn't slammed up against a window, I would totally have one of these. But I am living that classic New York apartment life, so this will have to wait, but it doesn't have to for you. This also feels like a design choice that you could be more or less invested in. Like you could purchase a whole hanging contraption and really nice fabric and like just go all in, or you could DIY it yourself with thrifted fabric. I also really like when people hang up like a little framed picture in the middle of it. I think that's really cute. Now, I feel like the next thing on my list goes without saying, but I've seen some things. So I'm gonna say it again. No more big lights, little lights only. Little moody lights, okay? We want ambiance, we want mood, we want cozy. Like the amount of times I still see people with the stadium lighting on in their living room while they're like watching TV or something. I'm like, couldn't be me. And it was me. For a long time. I didn't even think about it. It wasn't on my radar. I was just like, oh, turn a light on. But I am changed. I have seen the light, so to speak. The little light. And it is glorious. I also feel like when you're using a little light, it's usually more design focused. Like you can have a cute little lamp, you can have a cute little hanging orb thing, you can have a cute little standing lamp. Kind of circling back to what I said about having your own printed photographs or your own artwork hanging in your home, having like a funky little frame. Why do we need to just settle for a boring old frame from IKEA? I've been really into the style of like a little photo with a big frame. I especially like this one that has a little writing next to it. I feel like you could just throw up like a little poem or a little quote, or maybe even just like a date and place or something if it's like a photograph that you took. Obviously, there's so many cool, funky wooden frames you could get, but there's also like these tin frames, and I feel like you could make one of these yourself. I've seen people making their own like little tin ornaments this past year, and I feel like you could just make a frame with that as well. Next thing on the list is something that I've been on the hunt for a minute, and that is a funky little coffee table. I am so tired of our coffee table. It's IKEA, it's old, it's boring. I went upstate for a friend's birthday and we went out for drinks, as you do, and they had a coffee table at this drink spot that I wanted to steal because I loved it so much. I'll throw up a picture that I took. It was some kind of like silver, metal, something going on, really weird shape, and then some wood in the center. It was small, but not too small. I was obsessed. I was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Something with like mixed materials, something that's kind of funky and like medievally looking. It is so hard to find a cute coffee table that doesn't look like it was mass produced, but is also not like $3,000. Sometimes I think a coffee table is underrated, and I think I'm only saying that now that I've been searching for one for so long. Like so many coffee tables look the same, or they just look boring and cheap and like poorly designed. All right, and the final thing on my list of home decor that I think will make your home more cute and whimsical, cozy and whimsical, I don't know what I'm going to title this video yet, clearly, is a painted ceiling. Now, I don't mean just one color, although that could be very chic as well. But what I'm talking about is like a simple mural. Would this be very difficult to do? Yeah, okay. Sure. But I think that's why I just found examples of like really simple murals. We're not doing the Sistine Chapel on our ceilings, okay? I think my favorite one that I found is this one with the blue clouds and like the outline of a person like floating above. I don't know, maybe this is my toxic trait where I think I'm gonna be great at everything the first time I try it, but this doesn't look too hard to do. Tell me if I'm wrong, but like, I feel like I could do that. And I feel like we think of our walls so much. What kind of art do I put on it? What color do I paint it? And we forget about the ceiling a lot of times. So I wanted to include that little design option. I think you could go even more simple and just paint around like a light fixture. Fixture. Been having the darndest time trying to say that word. I think it's time for me to go. I think it's about that time. Well, friends, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments any cute, whimsical, interior design things that you've done in your space. If you guys are interested in finding me on other parts of the internet, I'm usually lurking on Instagram, TikTok. I have music on all major music platforms, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!